My name's John Patrick Shanley. I'm a writer and director.
Ooh, and I'm Nikki.
And I'm Katt, and this is Couch to Couch.
Again, I'm going to apologize that I'm not on my couch.
We're two young girls with much to talk about. Welcome to Couch to Couch.
Yeah, I'm just finishing up the final mix on the latest film that I directed. It's called Wild Mountain Thyme, and it was shot almost entirely in Ireland, in the West, in County Mayo, with Emily Blunt and Chris Walken and Jamie Dornan and John Hamm.
Was this a movie that was adapted from one of your plays, or?
Yes, actually, it was adapted from my play Outside Mullingar that we did on Broadway a few years back with Deborah Messing and Brian F. O'Byrne. A comrade of mine, Leslie Erdang, who's a film producer, came to me and said, I think this should be a film. And I said, yeah, I think so too.
And you directed the film as well?
Yes, I did.
Beautiful.
So talk to us about the way that, Broadway being closed has affected you and how you've overcame that. And also, having a film in production, especially over in Ireland, how have you been able to continue your work during these times?
I've been very, very fortunate. We shot the film, we got back to New York, we did the first several rounds of editing of the film, and then the pandemic struck.
Wow.
And the final rounds of editing were done remotely, using Vimeo mostly, back and forth notes between me and the editor and the producers, and that went on for some period of time. On the psychological level, I had a job during the pandemic, which sort of keeps you from drifting off into outer space.
Right. For people like all three of us, the theater is everything. That's our home. Losing that in-person aspect and having to adjust to that, especially with, even with editing or anything, having to do it through the computer, you're losing a whole dimension of communication and connection. So it's definitely been a huge adjustment for everyone.
It's really important to notice what life is handing you, mm-hmm. and not spend all your time fighting it, but try to figure out how to celebrate it or exploit it or use it as a spiritual challenge. And I think, one of the big dangers in life is that you just go along doing what you're doing, let's say trying to get jobs. And then one day you wake up dead. It's over, and that's what you did. You just tried to get jobs, a kind of global enforced period of reflection and what have I been doing?
A lot of people have had that shift too. I know for me personally, and I could probably say for Nikki too, that if I die tomorrow,
we've all been put in the refrigerator for a year.
Yeah.
Take it out of the refrigerator and go is this still good?
Maybe it's more like wine.
Well, we're hoping it's more like wine.
It's stellar. Take me out. I'm even better.
What advice would you give to someone who is just breaking into being a writer? They're realizing that this is what they're meant to do.
What actually happened is the most interesting thing. That all your attempts at being interesting are less interesting than what actually happened. And that, I don't know about the rest of the world, but for me, I do anything but rather than just say what happened. So that's a constant battle for myself. And it's funny, you can see it better in other people than you can in yourself. We always think our own lives are mundane and that other people have had colorful experiences, interesting lives. I mean, I went to a Catholic school in the Bronx with a bunch of nuns. If you said to me, you should write about that, I'd be like, why would I do that? Everybody knows that's the most boring thing in the world. And of course, I would think subliminally that everybody knows about that. And then I would have to consciously go John, no, actually, everybody doesn't know about that. Everybody didn't have that experience. For many people, that's truly exotic. And that holds true for all kinds of things, very particular circumstances in your family or an incident that you have in your professional life, or just walking down the street, something that that affects you, but specific, be very specific about it. There's power in that.
But you can't make this up. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, it's amazing. The pandemic hit, nobody really seemed, there was like a couple of movie makers and stuff that had come up with stuff, but nobody actually understood what would happen if that happened. Everybody's going to wear a mask, or like a lot of people are going to wear a mask, not touch my own face. I touch my face all the time.
Right.
And then gradually you go like, oh yeah, I'm not going to touch my face because I just touched that doorknob. And blah,
I remember the first person I saw in a mask in Penn Station, like really early on. I was like, oh wow, like people are wearing masks. Right. Little did I know I was going to have a mask collection.
Was there a time for you, maybe in your early years writing, where you did feel like a starving artist, or what obstacles you yeah, you're like, we work on that every day?
I was eligible for food stamps until I was 35 years old. I could tell you the differential in price for a can of tuna between two stores, like 2 cents less in that store than this store. I started writing when I was about 10 or 11 years old, that I was going to do this whether I made money at it or not. And so that was never my primary thing. My primary thing was always that I was going to write, and I was going to write all my life. I came from a neighborhood where if you spoke impolite to somebody, they'd punch you in the face, which makes people more polite, by the way. Came to Manhattan, I thought, what an uncivilized place, the way people talk to each other. In my neighborhood, they'd kill you for talking like that. When I got to the place in my life where I was now, in my late 20s, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to start to scheme how to survive. And I didn't think that I was ready to get what I wanted. So I just kept circling around it, writing a tremendous amount, getting to be a better writer by writing a lot, and putting on a lot of shows and readings and everything else. And then when I was about 34, 35, I said, all right, now I was painting people's apartments, and I was a moving man for a living. And I thought, and I got a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts that was for like $17,000, which I knew I could live on for a year. And I thought, well, I got a year. And if during that year I don't do anything to change my situation, next year I'm going to be back painting people's apartments again. So I decided to write a movie. And I went about, read a bunch of screenplays. I watched movies and thought, how would you write this?
What was that first movie that you wrote?
5 Corners.
Oh, that was 5 Corners.
With John Turturro and Tim Robbins and Jodie Foster. Things that I really knew about. It was about my old neighborhood. During the time that I was writing it, I was putting on Danny and the Deep Blue Sea. I quit the only straight job I ever had when Danny moved to New York. I made $5,000 doing Danny. I would look at a James Bond movie and say, how would you write that down? How would you break that down and write that? And then I read Oliver Stone's Scarface, and I thought, oh, I get it. I get how to write. I get what you have to do to write a movie. Thinking about my old neighborhood in terms of what was photographable, because it's a visual medium. And I was able to remember a lot of stuff that happened. A woman walking a St. Bernard was one image. And so I put a St. Bernard in the movie. And guys stealing penguins from the Bronx Zoo and putting them in a fountain and then beating them to death at the end of their party, and all that elicits in a person. And I just, then I thought about what's the story that brings all of those images into play. Because then I have a story and a film. I have something that really will be visual. And so that's how I went about it. It was interesting.
That's very interesting. So it kind of started with the images.
Yes, definitely. On that one.
Right, yeah. It's
no, because it was different on that. Then I thought, okay, that's how you write a movie. Everyone is different.
So inspiring to hear, you know, hearing like, you know, you went through all that, you did the work, and you're still with yourself and you're okay with the journey. And that's just so inspiring to hear, especially, you know, for us and for everyone. The anxiety that comes from, oh, I want to be like as successful as this person or this person or this person. And that comes with everyone, but you know, it's learning that patience and understanding that you have to do the work and really work on your craft. And
yeah, and it's not about anybody else. It's not, when somebody else has success, it takes nothing away from you. It has nothing to do with you.
right.
And you have to figure out what actually does have to do with you. You know, your life. You have to live your life. You have to express yourself, because your sensibility, you're the only person in the world who has it. If you have a dream at night, if you go to sleep and you have a dream, you wake up and you try to remember the dream. If you don't remember that dream, no one else will ever know about it. Have a psyche that is yours and yours alone.
Your story.
And you have access to it sporadically.
Shia LaBeouf movies lately, because he's been putting out some great work. And I started listening to his interviews, and he said, you know, if there's one thing you can do with your trauma, it's don't let it go to waste. You know, he put out this beautiful movie, Honey Boy, about his relationship and dynamic as a child actor and with his father and everything. And, you know, it's like you said, like, it's your story. No one can take it away from you. And it's the truth. So you can't tell me it's bad, because it actually happened, right?
Yeah, yeah. And an interesting thing, not diagnose yourself. In other words, I had a trauma. I had post-traumatic stress disorder. I am neurotic. I am slightly schizophrenic. I am on the spectrum. We're living in a time where it's like basically being alive is some kind of ailment that you have. And to put, because in other words, that's all other people's thinking. That's not what you actually think. Those aren't your actual words. That's an easy shorthand that we've come up with to describe certain things. But, you know, you may have had like a powerful experience that now someone may call a trauma.
Right.
But for you, it may simply be better to say, I have had a powerful experience, that you are like other people. And you're not. You are, but you're not. Did you take mushrooms just before this?
Yeah.
So this is a game that will probably be most enjoyable for me alone.
I'm scared.
We are going to read a line that you wrote, and
God.
you have to guess or name the play or movie that it is from.
The only way I know anything about how I am is what I see in other people's eyes.
Lovely. I didn't even know I wrote that.
I'll give you a hint. It's more of a recent work of yours, and it is a play.
Wow. Yeah, nothing. I have no idea.
Clue?
I'm lucky that I know I'm with you right now.
So if somebody's willing to talk to you and tell you shit they think is true, don't be so quick to knock it. People don't usually part with the weird shit they personally know, because they know how easy it will be to punch holes in it.
The dreamer examines his bill.
Yeah, I knew you'd get that one.
I feel very accomplished now that I actually recognize it.
This is a big deal. This is a big find. I can't believe it's been sitting here for all these centuries waiting for lucky us.
No idea.
Hey, I'll give you a hint. It's a movie.
I love it.
There's
Really?
monkeys in the movie.
Oh, wow. Oh my God, it's Congo?
Yeah.
I have to watch that movie again. I haven't seen that movie since it came out. When I saw the rough cut of Congo in LA, I was scared to death. I'm like, this is the end of all of our careers. And it turned out to be the biggest opening in Paramount's history.
My personal favorite is Joe versus the Volcano. And
I'm very proud of Joe versus the Volcano.
Good. You should be, because that's a beautiful movie. You don't like the way I'm living. Look in the mirror. It's your fault. People like you make people like me choose, and choice brings out the worst in me.
You know, I recognize that, and I actually really like that. but
right?
I have no idea what I had it in.
I think that this is something that you've been through. There's a garden.
Oh yeah. Last night in the garden, I saw you.
Last night.
That helped me a lot. Thank you. And one of the truths of my particular life is I have always lived in the belief that I had to spend a lot of time making sure when I was on my deathbed, I was not racked with regret. That's the question. Okay, you're on your deathbed. Are you glad you did this or sorry you did this?
You know, if I die tomorrow, comma.
Yeah.